Stuart عنده حليب?
Does Stuart get his milk?
Yes.
And with cornflakes too.
That's what Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein asked a 5-year-old British boy during a bizarre and deeply unsettling live TV broadcast in August 1990. But this wasn't a light-hearted moment. It was part of a high-stakes geopolitical stunt, one of the strangest and most disturbing episodes of the Gulf War. Saddam Hussein held dozens of Western civilians hostage and paraded them on national television. Today, we're diving deep into the day Saddam used innocent people, including children, as human shields and propaganda tools in one of the most grotesque media manipulations in modern history. It began on August 2nd, 1990, when Saddam Hussein's forces invaded Kuwait. Iraq's economy was in shambles after the long war with Iran, and Hussein accused Kuwait of stealing oil and manipulating prices. But more than that, Saddam believed Kuwait had historically been part of Iraq, a claim he would use to justify invasion. Almost overnight, 100,000 Iraqi troops stormed the small but oil-rich nation. The world condemned the act, and Western countries, especially the United States and Britain, began mobilizing a response. President George H.W. Bush launched Operation Desert Shield, sending troops to Saudi Arabia to prepare for possible intervention. In the middle of it all, an estimated 12,000 Western civilians trapped in Iraq and occupied Kuwait. Many of those Westerners were oil workers, engineers, and their families, people who had been living and working peacefully in the Gulf region. Soon after the invasion, Iraq shut its borders, and Saddam's regime began detaining foreigners. While most were confined to hotels or government buildings, some, around 200, were taken to secret locations near military and industrial sites. Why? Because Saddam planned to use them as human shields, physical deterrents against US or British airstrikes. And then came the TV stunt. On a 30-minute videotape broadcast on August 23, 1990, Saddam Hussein appeared on Iraqi state TV alongside a few dozen Western hostages. Among them were men, women, and young children, some barefoot, some in shorts, some visibly confused. But Saddam was not in military gear. He wore a sharp gray suit, his tie carefully matched to his pocket square. He smiled, laughed, even played the role of Uncle Saddam. He patted children on the head, asked what games they liked to play, and famously asked a little boy,
Are you getting your milk, Stuart? And with cornflakes too.
It was chilling. A dictator, accused of war crimes, turning innocent children into photo props while trying to mask a hostage situation as a humanitarian gesture. Make no mistake, this was not an act of kindness. It was strategic propaganda, an effort to distract from Iraq's illegal occupation of Kuwait and humanize Saddam Hussein in the eyes of the global public. Brian Jenkins, a counterterrorism expert, said it clearly. Controlling the media has become part of the battlefield. The goal? Make Saddam look reasonable, maybe even likable, and make any potential airstrike by the West look like an attack on innocent people. To some, it looked like a grotesque version of a family reunion photo op. To others, it looked like what it truly was: emotional blackmail on a global scale. The little boy, Stuart Lockwood, was just 5 years old when he stood stiffly next to Saddam Hussein. In 2015, as a grown man and a PE teacher, he reflected on the moment in an interview with The Guardian. He recalled the fear of armed guards, the overwhelming pressure of the cameras, and that moment when Saddam tried to pull him onto his lap. I crossed my arms and shied away, he said. Any 5-year-old backs off when a stranger tries to sit them on their lap. It wasn't just because it was Saddam Hussein. Stuart's father had tried to hold him back, but eventually let go. His mother remembered thinking, "Derek, you have to let him go." It's a haunting memory, one that Stuart says his students sometimes ask him about, confused, mixing it up with Osama bin Laden or ISIS. But to this day, Stuart remembers how the atmosphere changed when Saddam entered the room. Soldiers who had been kind suddenly became rigid and silent. It was no longer just an unusual detainment. It became something else, a show. The international response was swift and fierce. British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher was reportedly repulsed. The UK Foreign Office issued a statement condemning the repulsive charade and Saddam's callous disregard for human rights. The US State Department called the broadcast shameful theatrics. And yet behind the outrage, there was calculation. Western governments were hesitant to escalate because any aggressive move could endanger the hostages. Saddam had found his bargaining chips, and he played them with eerie calm. Then, something unexpected happened. Reverend Jesse Jackson, an American civil rights leader known for his diplomatic efforts, flew to Baghdad and negotiated directly with Saddam Hussein. He appealed to Saddam's ego and public image, framing the release of hostages as a gesture of peace. And, surprisingly, it worked. Weeks after the broadcast, Stewart and his family were freed. Stewart even recalls Jesse Jackson carrying him off the plane at Heathrow Airport, away from the media frenzy. "I was tired and grumpy and hiding behind my mom," Stewart later said. "I didn't want anything to do with it." His father remained in Iraq a little longer, but was finally released just before Christmas. Stewart still calls it the best Christmas present of his life. Saddam Hussein's hostage stunt failed to win international sympathy, but it succeeded in one thing: it froze action. It delayed military strikes, complicated diplomacy, and forced Western leaders to play cautiously. Eventually, on January 17, 1991, the US-led coalition launched Operation Desert Storm. Just 42 days later, Iraqi forces were pushed out of Kuwait. But the memory of that TV stunt remains, an eerie reminder of how media, image, and innocence can be manipulated in the theater of war. It wasn't just a war of missiles and tanks, it was also a war of perception. If you found this story powerful, give this video a like. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into world events that shaped our history. Have thoughts about Saddam's media stunt? Or memories from that time? Drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective. Thanks for watching, and stay informed.